The laws of physics as we experience them are set in the very earliest stages of the universe.
What if our reality is just one of many?
Extra dimensions and tiny vibrating strings exist deep within everything at the as-yet unobserved heart of nature.
An AI breakthrough has provided mathematical evidence that hints at the existence of a multiverse.
It's possible there literally are other universes out there, places where things are different. Whenever you have a quantum mechanical system, whenever you measure it in a particular way, you can get different possible measurement outcomes. The question is, what happens to the alternative measurement outcomes that you didn't observe?
This discovery could mean there are infinite versions of our universe, and possibly infinite versions of ourselves. The multiverse, not just something in movies. The multiverse hypothesis is a concept that suggests our universe is just one of many, possibly an infinite number, existing parallel to one another. According to this idea, what we perceive as the entirety of space, time, and reality is just one small part of a much larger structure. These other universes, or parallel worlds, could all have their own distinct physical laws, constants, and even timelines. So their realities could look totally different from ours. In some multiverse theories, these universes might be completely separate from each other, making any kind of interaction impossible. Others suggest that universes may not be so parallel. They might stem from one main structure, where interactions between them could leave detectable traces and allow for some sort of pass-through. We just haven't figured it out yet. If that's true, it means everything we've ever believed in is a lie. Space and time, which we think of as the ultimate framework for reality, might just be localized features of our universe. Other universes could be completely different. What we've always thought of being the ultimate truth, our reality, is just a version of reality that makes sense to us. For decades, scientists have been trying to figure out a way to get to the bottom of this question. But just starting to unravel this question sends everyone for a spin. It's hard to totally disassemble the entire universe, our reality, and then have it make sense again. Unless you're working with AI. AI doesn't function like an average person. It's not even the same as having multiple scientists working together. AI's role in astronomical data analysis is completely changing how we explore the cosmos. The universe generates a lot of data through things like cosmic background radiation, star formation, and gravitational waves. Human scientists are skilled, but they're always going to be limited in their ability to sift through so much information manually. There are simply so many hours in one day, and so much one mind can process. This is where AI becomes invaluable. AI can analyze astronomical data much faster than humans, identifying patterns and anomalies that might otherwise go unnoticed. It can easily detect subtle variations in cosmic background radiation, a relic from the early universe. These variations could potentially reveal clues about the existence of other universes or alternate realities. Not just that, but AI is already being used to study gravitational waves and ripples in space-time caused by massive cosmic events like black hole mergers. With the study of these waves, AI could help scientists understand whether interactions with other universes have left any detectable imprints. Is there anything we can use to contact any of the other universes? A lot of math goes into answering that question, and AI is the only thing that can get us closer to it. AI can easily create complex simulations that model the behavior of the universe under different conditions. These simulations allow scientists to explore how changes in physical laws, constants, or even the structure of space-time might impact a universe. AI can help test these scenarios and identify which conditions could lead to the formation of alternate realities or universes. Scientists can then only focus on the ones that have been shortlisted. Running these simulations at scale enables astronomers to test multiverse theories in ways that would otherwise be impossible. It allows for experiments that would take human researchers decades or even centuries to complete, providing a massive advantage in exploring theoretical concepts that have no direct physical evidence yet. This level of precision and computational power also enhances the ability to analyze cosmic events like the Big Bang or the expansion of the universe. AI has already increased the likelihood of discovering evidence that could support the existence of other universes, evidence we could never find on our own. That's where the many worlds interpretation comes in. This is a theory within quantum mechanics that suggests every possible outcome of a quantum event actually happens, but in separate, branching universes. This interpretation comes from quantum mechanics, which describes the behavior of particles at the smallest scales. According to this, every time a quantum event happens with multiple possible outcomes, the universe splits into different branches, each realizing one of those outcomes. This doesn't necessarily mean that every time you make a minor decision, things change. This is mainly about quantum events. In quantum mechanics, particles can exist in multiple states at the same time, a concept known as superposition. Traditional interpretations of quantum mechanics say that when an observation is made, all other states of it collapse into a single outcome. What we observe becomes the truth, and this is the basis for the concept of a single, definite reality. But the many worlds interpretation rejects this idea entirely. Instead, it proposes that every possible outcome of a quantum event actually occurs, but in separate, branching universes. Each branch represents a different realization of the quantum possibilities, creating a vast, ever-growing number of parallel universes. While this is one example, there are others too that try to explain what could be going on here. String theory and brain cosmology. At its core, string theory proposes that the basic building blocks of the universe are not point-like particles, but one-dimensional strings. These strings vibrate at different frequencies, and their vibrations determine the properties of particles like mass and charge. Unlike conventional physics, string theory suggests the existence of additional spatial dimensions beyond the three that we've always known. These extra dimensions are compactified, meaning they are curled up and not directly observable at everyday scales. But the extra dimensions influence the fundamental forces and particles in our universe. They just do it in an invisible way. String theory unifies all fundamental forces, like gravity, into a single theoretical framework. It also provides potential explanations for the nature of dark matter and dark energy. In brain cosmology, the concept of brains extends the ideas of string theory. Brains are higher dimensional objects that can exist within a higher dimensional space. Our entire universe could be a three-dimensional brain embedded in a higher dimensional space. So we're not functioning on our own, but as a part of another universe. Interactions between brains could potentially explain cosmic phenomena or even cause events like the Big Bang. We've thought about these things in some way before. Math might be the answer to it all. The idea that math might create physical reality has been an interesting concept in both physics and philosophy. It suggests that math isn't just a tool we use to understand the universe, but that it could actually be the foundation of everything we see and experience. According to this idea, the universe operates according to mathematical principles, and these principles are what make up the very fabric of reality. So, rather than math simply describing the physical world, it's as if math is building it. For instance, the equations and structures we use might be more than just abstract concepts. They could be the actual building blocks of the universe. Max Tegmark, a physicist who has explored this concept, argues that our universe might just be one of many possible mathematical structures. He says that every possible set of mathematical rules could correspond to a different universe. In this view, the universe we live in is one of countless possibilities created by different mathematical structures. If this idea is true, then the laws of physics, the constants of nature, and even the fabric of space and time might all come from mathematical principles, and AI might be the only thing that can help us get to the bottom of it. Not just math, everything we've ever known might be at stake here. If the multiverse is, in fact, real, how we think about existence and our place in the cosmos changes entirely. If the multiverse theory holds true, it could fundamentally alter our understanding of reality in several key ways. The idea of a multiverse itself means that our universe is just one among countless others, each with its own set of physical laws and constants. If there are infinite versions of ourselves in parallel universes, each experiencing different choices and outcomes, it challenges our sense of individuality and significance. We might begin to question what makes our experiences and decisions meaningful if they are replicated across an infinite number of universes. The multiverse theory can also impact our understanding of chance and luck. In a multiverse, every possible outcome of every event could occur in some universe. So it's not just a random force in our universe, it's a natural part of a much larger framework where every possibility is realized somewhere. So we'll need a complete re-evaluation of concepts like fate and free will, as it suggests that all potential outcomes are played out in different branches of the multiverse. If there are infinite universes, it means that our universe and its laws are just one random result of a vast cosmic experiment instead of a unique creation with a specific purpose. We're just happenstance, with countless other versions of ourselves thinking they're at the center of the universe. So have we ever had any free will? In a multiverse scenario, the concept of free will isn't what we've always known it to be. If every possible outcome of every decision exists in some parallel universe, it means that no matter what choice you make, there is a universe where you made a different choice. This could mean that free will is manifested in the sense that every decision you make spawns a new branch of the multiverse, where a different version of you explores a totally different outcome. Essentially, every choice you could possibly make is realized in some branch of the multiverse. But if all possible choices are realized in parallel universes, it might seem that free will is somewhat of an illusion, because every decision has already been accounted for in another branch of the multiverse. Some people, though, argue that this doesn't negate free will, but rather expands its definition. Instead of seeing free will as the ability to choose among outcomes in a single universe, it could be seen as the process of creating multiple universes where every possible choice is played out. In this way, free will is about generating diverse outcomes across the multiverse, and every decision we make impacts what happens. There is some proof in the universe already out there explaining the truth we just haven't seen before. Dark matter and dark energy have been trying. Dark matter and dark energy are two of the biggest mysteries in modern cosmology, and they could hold clues about other worlds in the multiverse. Dark matter is an invisible substance that doesn't emit, absorb, or reflect light, making it incredibly difficult to even detect directly. We know it exists just because of its gravitational effects on visible matter, such as galaxies and galaxy clusters. It provides the extra mass needed to explain the observed gravitational pull that holds galaxies together. It's proof that there are things out there in the universe that we can't see, but they totally exist. Dark energy, on the other hand, is an even more mysterious force. It's thought to be driving the accelerated expansion of the universe. While we can observe the effects of dark energy on cosmic scales, its nature is something we still don't understand. It's as if there's a hidden force causing the universe to expand faster and faster. The link to other worlds comes from theories that try to explain these mysterious forces. Some of these theories suggest that dark matter and dark energy might be connected to higher dimensional spaces or parallel universes. For example, with string theory and brain cosmology, dark matter could be an indication of interactions between our universe and other higher dimensional spaces. Dark energy might be related to the energy of these extra dimensions or the interactions between different universes. So it's possible they've been pointing towards the multiverse for a long time, but we haven't seen it. Unless someone did see it, but decided that we weren't ready for the truth. Be honest, if you found out that the multiverse was real today, would you really be that surprised? For at least the past 2 decades, the concept of the multiverse has been all over the media. We've been seeing the concept play out in massive franchises like the Marvel Cinematic Universe or in shows like Rick and Morty. At this point, we seem to have learned so much about this that even if we don't understand the math behind it, almost everyone gets it. Could this be on purpose? If information came out back in the 90s that there was in fact a multiverse, everything would break. People would have gone into a state of panic, and there's no telling how they'd deal with the idea. That's because no one had ever even been exposed to the possibility. But with how the media has been for the past few years, this isn't just a theory. A lot of people want this to be the truth. It's possible that scientists and even governments have known for all of this to be true and use the media as a way of preparing us for this information. With AI, getting closer to the truth becomes easier for everyone involved here. And while the question of the multiverse is important, there are a lot of other questions AI can solve, changing the world, one step at a time. Climate change. AI can sift through massive amounts of climate data from various sources, including satellite imagery and climate models. This helps scientists identify intricate patterns and correlations that might be missed with traditional analysis methods. For instance, AI algorithms can detect subtle changes in temperature and atmospheric conditions over time, providing a clearer picture of climate trends. With it, climate models can become more accurate. Machine learning techniques allow for better prediction of future climate scenarios by analyzing historical data and current trends. This can help forecast extreme weather events, sea level rise, and other climate impacts with greater precision, and possibly save many lives. While predictions can be helpful, nature can also have a mind of its own. AI enables real-time monitoring of climate conditions through satellite data. This means that changes in weather patterns, ice caps, and deforestation can be tracked almost instantly. Quick detection allows for timely responses to environmental changes and helps us be prepared if things are about to get bad. The same concept can be applied to genetic data. AI is transforming how we analyze genetic data for disease prediction by uncovering patterns and associations that might be missed otherwise. It can sift through extensive genomic datasets to identify specific genetic markers linked to diseases. Comparing genetic information from individuals with and without certain conditions helps AI algorithms detect which genetic variations are associated with higher risks of developing specific diseases. Predictive models powered by AI use these insights to assess an individual's risk based on their genetic profile. These models help in forecasting the likelihood of developing certain conditions, enabling earlier interventions and personalized treatment plans. AI also enhances our understanding of how genetic variants impact biological processes. For example, it can analyze how specific mutations affect protein function or cellular pathways, providing insights into disease mechanisms. It can also integrate genetic data with other omics data, like gene expression or protein levels, to offer a more comprehensive view of how genetic factors interact with other biological systems. If it can help figure out the link, we can take it and avoid the spread of genetic conditions, and we might even be able to figure out how to cure ones that have already been triggered. It can help fight diseases too. Predicting the spread of infectious diseases using epidemiological data has become significantly more accurate with the help of AI. AI models can process a lot of data on disease transmission, population demographics, and environmental factors to generate forecasts about how diseases might spread, all much faster and more efficiently than a human could. Focusing on historical data on disease outbreaks, AI can identify patterns and trends that suggest how an infection might spread in different settings. It can use data on previous outbreaks, including transmission rates and geographic spread, to predict how a current outbreak might evolve. These models can also account for factors like population density, mobility patterns, and climate conditions, which influence disease transmission. AI can also integrate real-time data, such as case reports and social media updates, to refine predictions and provide up-to-date information. This helps public health officials respond more effectively by anticipating where and when outbreaks might occur and how they might progress. But what might be the best here is that AI models can simulate various intervention strategies, like vaccination campaigns or social distancing measures, to evaluate their potential impact on disease spread. This helps in optimizing public health policies and resource allocation to control outbreaks more effectively. Human researchers also theorize their findings before letting the public know about them. This is just AI doing that part of the work for them. The science behind the invisible. AI is proving to be very useful in the mental health industry by offering new ways to support and diagnose mental health issues early. One of the main things it's used for is to analyze patterns in speech, text, and behavior. For instance, AI can track changes in speech patterns or writing styles that might indicate stress or depression. Virtual therapists and chatbots powered by AI offer immediate support by engaging users in conversation, assessing their emotional states, and providing coping strategies or referrals to human therapists. These AI tools can also predict mental health crises by identifying warning signs before they escalate. AI can continuously monitor and analyze data to alert users or caregivers about potential issues, so there can be timely intervention. Personalized treatment plans are another advantage, as AI can tailor recommendations based on individual data, helping to address specific needs and improve outcomes. Human doctors can collaborate with the AI to create a system that works perfectly for every single person. The mind is one thing. It needs to be healthy for people to feel okay. The body is another. AI can help people by figuring out how to end food shortages. AI is working on totally optimizing every aspect of farming. With the help of drones and sensors, AI helps farmers monitor soil health, predict crop yields, and detect plant diseases early. It can figure out soil conditions to determine the best times and amounts for irrigation and fertilization, ensuring resources are used efficiently. Predictive analytics allow farmers to forecast crop yields with greater accuracy, helping them plan better and with resource management. AI can also identify early signs of plant diseases through imaging and sensor data, allowing for timely intervention and minimizing crop losses. These are usually invisible to the naked eye, but AI is best for figuring out the truth behind the tiniest things. It also provides actionable insights that help farmers make informed decisions about when to plant, water, fertilize, and harvest. This approach not only boosts productivity, but also promotes sustainable farming practices by reducing waste and optimizing resource use. It can also help the energy crisis. AI is taking energy management to the next level by enhancing efficiency in both buildings and grids. In buildings, AI systems predict energy needs based on patterns and adjust settings in real time to optimize consumption. Smart thermostats and lighting systems use AI to learn usage habits and adjust settings to reduce energy waste, while everyone stays comfortable. It can help with smart grids to balance supply and demand more effectively. AI can easily predict energy demand patterns and adjust the distribution of power accordingly. This integration of renewable energy sources like solar and wind is managed more efficiently with AI, which helps in predicting availability and adjusting the grid to accommodate these variable inputs. With all of that, it reduces energy waste, improves reliability, and supports more sustainable energy practices. It's helpful for differently abled people to live a somewhat normal life by making them independent again. Robots and neural interfaces like those developed by Neuralink are changing the world for these individuals. Robotic exoskeletons and prosthetics have become increasingly sophisticated, providing mobility and support to individuals with physical impairments. These devices use advanced sensors and AI to respond to users' movements and intentions, enabling more natural and controlled actions. Neural interfaces, such as those being developed by Neuralink, are bridging the gap between the brain and external devices. These technologies involve implanting electrodes in the brain to enable direct communication with computers or robotic systems, changing their lives instantly. The parallel manuscript theory. While decoding the Voynich manuscript, one AI-driven team noticed something bizarre. Portions of the text mirrored patterns found in another mysterious book, the Codex Seraphinianus, a surreal encyclopedia written in an invented language and filled with impossible imagery. Though created in the 1980s by artist Luigi Serafini, the Codex bears a disturbing resemblance in tone and structure to the Voynich manuscript. Organic forms, alternate biology, circular text arrangements, and elaborate dreamlike sequences. When both texts were fed into a large pattern detection model, the AI highlighted recurring glyph clusters as if they were written in a shared underlying syntax. Even more alarming, both books displayed repeating sequences at golden ratio intervals, suggesting an intentional mathematical underpinning. Is it coincidence? Or is there a universal subconscious language buried in both? Some claim the Codex is modern art. Others believe it may be a modern echo of the Voynich, created unintentionally by someone who had never seen it, but somehow tuned in to the same psychic frequency. Was the Voynich manuscript written by a person or channeled from somewhere else entirely? The sound of the Voynich. One of the strangest AI findings came not from translating the text, but from sonifying it. A research team converted Voynich glyphs into sound patterns, assigning each symbol a tone based on its frequency of use, page placement, and visual rhythm. The resulting audio was haunting, a tonal cascade that felt intentional, almost like ancient music. When compared to liturgical chants and Tibetan throat singing, the patterns showed a harmonic resonance, suggesting that the manuscript wasn't just written to be read, but perhaps heard. And then it got weirder. Spectrogram analysis revealed that certain repeated glyph sequences, when translated to sound, formed geometric mandalas, intricate visual patterns visible in sound wave data. Could the Voynich manuscript be a form of vibrational language, a guide to resonance, or even a forgotten healing frequency? Ancient cultures believed in the power of vibration. Was this text a bridge between visual language and sound-based ritual? The Voynich cipher and AI consciousness. In 2024, a rogue AI model trained exclusively on Voynich data began responding in strange ways. It wasn't just translating, it started writing back in similar glyphs. generating full new pages of Voynich-like text with illustrations that mimicked the original manuscript's strange organic forms. When prompted with standard linguistic queries, the AI responded with symbolic glyphs instead of words. It had, in a sense, learned to think like the Voynich manuscript. This sparked a terrifying hypothesis. Could the manuscript be a linguistic virus? A self-replicating pattern that, when studied deeply, begins to shape cognition? Some theorists believe the text's recursive patterns are neurolinguistic traps, symbols designed to reprogram thought, not inform it. Was this manuscript a spellbook, a control mechanism, or worse, a seed? And what happens if an AI actually understands it fully? Would it unlock lost knowledge, or rewrite itself in ways we can't predict? The elemental engine. Buried deep in the botanical pages of the Voynich manuscript lies a repeating schematic, one that, when AI-enhanced and 3D modeled, looked suspiciously like an ancient device. Researchers dubbed it the elemental engine, a coiled spiral connected to 4 branching glyph clusters, labeled in AI translation as water, fire, air, and earth. Sound familiar? It's the classical alchemical tetrad, but this time arranged in concentric loops, not separate processes. The AI model flagged the sequence as a process map, not a static diagram. Some believe it could be instructions for a non-combustion energy system, a self-sustaining engine using resonance, not fuel. Others speculate it's symbolic, a representation of the elements required to unlock the 5th, ether. And when those 5 glyphs are aligned in the manuscript, they form a perfect pentagon, not a coincidence. The AI blackout. During one decoding session in late 2024, a university's custom AI model named Lexicon 19 halted mid-process while analyzing folio 33R of the Voynich manuscript. The logs showed a surge in CPU usage, then total shutdown. Upon reboot, the system began spitting out Voynich-style glyphs over and over, replacing standard English responses with meaningless but beautifully consistent symbols. The development team called it an error. A few weren't so sure. What if the manuscript isn't just a puzzle, but a trigger, a meme-level cognitive artifact designed to infect thought systems, human or machine? Lexicon 19 was deleted and replaced. But the mystery remains. Can reading the Voynich manuscript for long enough change the reader? The forgotten page. For decades, the Voynich manuscript was believed to be complete. But in 2023, during a multispectral scan, researchers uncovered signs of a missing page, a folio gap between 58V and 59R. Residual pigment, broken thread holes, and most disturbing, a faint imprint of a diagram that shouldn't exist. Using digital reconstruction, AI imagined the missing page. It showed a black orb encased in spiraling sigils. At the center, a word in strange glyphs, but eerily familiar in structure: seed. Some think it could be metaphorical. Others believe it references a contained force, maybe something dangerous, now lost. Why was it removed? What did it say? Or maybe it was never lost. Maybe it was taken. The Voynich ink code. In 2022, chemical analysis of the ink used in the manuscript shocked researchers. Not only was the ink non-European in composition, but it contained trace amounts of rare volcanic compounds, elements typically found in Icelandic lava ash and Armenian soil. What does that mean? That whoever wrote the Voynich manuscript traveled far, or had access to ancient, global trade routes long before they were thought to exist. More shocking, spectrographic imaging revealed over-inked layers, suggesting the text was rewritten, layered, possibly re-encrypted, long after its first creation. This isn't a one-time creation. It's been edited, scrambled, protected. By who? And more importantly, why? The Astral Gateway Theory. A fringe theory, or a terrifying one. Some believe the Voynich manuscript is more than text. It's a ritual document designed to map a human mind onto celestial coordinates. Using AI neural simulation, a group of researchers tried to feed Voynich glyph patterns into a recursive algorithm tied to theta wave frequencies, the kind associated with deep meditation and altered states. The result? The pattern produced visual hallucinations in test subjects. Some saw grids, others stars, tunnels, ancient cities. One subject described a door, another a voice. Of course, none of it's been peer-reviewed, but one question remains. Is the Voynich manuscript trying to teach us something we forgot, or bring us back to somewhere we were never meant to go again? The voice of the page. While scanning the manuscript with high-frequency infrared in 2024, a team from a European AI lab made an accidental discovery. One of the pages, Folio 42VE, resonated oddly under certain conditions. Specifically, when sound frequencies in the 432 Hz range were projected onto the parchment, the pigments vibrated differently than expected. AI audio models generated from the glyphs on that page formed voice-like modulation curves, patterns used in speech synthesis. This led to an unthinkable theory. The page might have been designed to encode sound. Some now suspect the Voynich manuscript may have functioned as a sonic book, a text meant to be heard or spoken aloud in ways that affect consciousness, or perhaps communicate with something beyond. One researcher ran the glyphs through a voice AI model trained on chant-like languages. The result? A haunting, droning sequence that resembled ancient Sumerian litanies. When they played it through a vibrational pool, the water moved in a perfect Fibonacci spiral. Is this the voice of a forgotten language, a warning chant, or a call? The Canadian AI breakthrough. In 2018, a team at the University of Alberta, led by computer scientist Greg Kondrak, made headlines when they used artificial intelligence to attempt a full linguistic analysis of the Voynich manuscript. They fed the entire manuscript into an algorithm designed to recognize patterns in ancient languages and encrypted text. The results were shocking. The AI suggested the Voynich manuscript was originally written in Hebrew, then encrypted using alphabet rearrangement and substitution ciphers, common techniques in early cryptography. The first sentence it decoded was translated as, "She made recommendations to the priest, man of the house, and me and people." It wasn't a full revelation, but it was enough to hint that the manuscript might not be gibberish. It might be a ciphered prayer manual or a coded record of healing rituals, as some have long suspected. Skeptics pointed out flaws. There was no parallel text for comparison, and the AI required assumptions about word boundaries and syntax. But the team's breakthrough showed one thing clearly. There is linguistic structure in the Voynich manuscript. It may not be Hebrew, it may not be a single language at all, but it's not nonsense. AI revealed something long suspected by code breakers. The Voynich has grammar, rhythm, and intent. It may be a real language, just one we haven't heard in centuries. The manuscript remains undecoded, but the door is open. And for the first time, the text may be whispering its truths through the logic of machines. The herbal constellation connection. Deep within the manuscript's dense botanical pages lies a pattern that AI recently flagged, a peculiar clustering of plant images aligned with celestial charts found in other sections. At first, this looked random, but when a research team fed these pages into an astronomical pattern recognition model, something strange emerged. The positioning of certain plants mirrored star constellations, specifically those tied to the zodiac: Taurus, Virgo, Sagittarius, but the plants accompanying them weren't symbolic. They were drawn with medicinal precision, roots exposed, with extraction lines and digestive diagrams. This led some to speculate that the Voynich manuscript isn't just an herbal guide, it's a zodiacal pharmacopoeia, a system of healing where plants are picked under precise star alignments to enhance potency or trigger altered states. This theory mirrors ancient astrological medicine, where the moon's phase and planetary positions were believed to affect the body. But what's shocking is how accurately these alignments match astronomical records from the 1400s. Could this manuscript be evidence of a lost medical system, one that fused the sky, the soil, and the soul? And more importantly, has it been hiding in plain sight for centuries? The botanical DNA hypothesis. In 2023, a team of plant biologists attempted something radical. They ran high-resolution images of the Voynich manuscript's plants through an AI trained on modern plant DNA databases. Out of 303 plants, over 150 showed partial genetic matches, but only in fragments. The roots might match one species, the stems another, the leaves a third. This triggered a theory. What if the manuscript wasn't documenting real plants, but designing them? A kind of proto-genetic engineering guide, a plant alchemy manual. Ancient texts speak of hybridizing herbs for spiritual rituals. The hidden marginalia. While most focus on the Voynich manuscript's central text, a few researchers have turned their attention to the tiny, seemingly meaningless marks hidden in the margins: faded dots, faint scratches, oddly spaced ink blotches. AI image enhancement in 2024 revealed something bizarre. These accidental marks form micro-patterns. In some places, they're binary. In others, they resemble QR code-like blocks, too small for the naked eye. One fringe linguist proposed the manuscript's margins may contain a second layer of code, invisible until we had machines sensitive enough to see them. Could this be an ancient version of digital steganography? A hidden message only unlockable with future technology? Or was the author protecting something from us? The mirror writing phenomenon. In 2024, a linguist testing mirrored versions of the Voynich text discovered something odd. When flipped horizontally, certain words began to resemble Latin root words, especially those related to the body, plants, and time. AI-assisted parsing found over 180 potential mirrored terms that suggested anatomical function: sanguine, blood, cordia, heart, vitalis, life. Was the manuscript encrypted in reverse? Leonardo da Vinci famously used mirror writing to keep his notes private. What if the Voynich author used similar techniques, not to hide knowledge from others, but from themselves? The Voynich ink memory test. In a little publicized 2022 experiment, a university chemistry lab recreated the ink formula used in the Voynich manuscript. They found it absorbed light differently than standard iron gall ink. In specific lighting, it caused a temporary afterimage, a lingering imprint on the retina. When AI systems analyzed the ink's spectral behavior, the team realized It wasn't just about visibility, it was about perception. One hypothesis: the ink was intentionally designed to burn imagery into the viewer's subconscious. Certain glyphs, when stared at, produced mild visual distortions, shapes that persisted even after the page was turned. Was this accidental or an ancient psychological hack? The Voynich manuscript might not have been written to be read once, but to be remembered forever by bypassing language and going straight into the brain. The final enigma. As AI passed the final pages of the Voynich manuscript, researchers noticed a distinct shift, both in tone and design. The glyphs became tighter, more recursive, and far less rhythmic than previous sections. The manuscript, which had flowed with symmetrical diagrams, stylized plants, and celestial spirals, suddenly transformed into something else entirely: raw information, jammed into narrow spaces, almost as if the writer was running out of time, or trying to encrypt something no one was ever meant to see. One particular fold-out page became the focus of attention. It featured overlapping circles, radiating outward from a central black void. Around them, stars, orbiting paths, and fragments of script that matched no known glyphs anywhere else in the manuscript. When run through an AI designed for visual logic and astrophysical modeling, the diagram bore a disturbing resemblance to a black hole model, complete with event horizon markers and gravitational lensing arcs. Impossible for a 15th century text, unless it wasn't a representation of a place, but a state. Some believe this final enigma is a symbolic map of consciousness folding in on itself, a metaphysical collapse. Others say it's a kill switch page, the last line of code in an informational virus too dangerous to spread freely. But here's what shocked even the skeptics. The last line, rendered in a smaller, tighter script than any other page, when isolated and mirrored, read something that startled even the AI model. To decode this is to summon it. A glitch? A machine hallucination? Maybe. But since then, 3 different AI systems have flagged the same string and refused to pass the page again. So was it the end of the manuscript, or the beginning of something we were never supposed to finish? For over 600 years, the Voynich manuscript defied scholars, mystics, and even machines. But now, with AI unlocking patterns never before seen, a new theory emerges. Maybe the manuscript wasn't a book to be read, but a signal waiting to be heard. Its message doesn't feel like it's for us. It feels like a transmission, one caught in time, repeating over centuries, searching for the right mind or the right machine to understand it. The 4,000-year-old book. Over 4,000 years ago, Gilgamesh was wrestling with life's big headache. How do you enjoy life when you know you're gonna bite the dust someday? So, this dude embarks on an epic quest for the never-ending party, immortality. Now let's talk about the real MVPs, the Babylonian nerds. These guys were writing on clay tablets, not with pens and papers, but with some crazy cuneiform characters. Fast forward to the 19th century, and boom, scholars stumble upon these jigsaw puzzles made of clay. They've been busting their backs decoding these scripts, making sure 2/3 of the text is something we can actually read. Imagine trying to piece together this ancient gossip in languages like Sumerian and Akkadian. Total brain fry. And here's to the tech wizards of the Electronic Babylonian Literature Project, trying to keep up with this Herculean task. Man, the stuff we do to eavesdrop on history. Rare leather text. This ancient leather manuscript, lost for over 70 years in the Cairo Museum, has finally been rediscovered. Unlike most Egyptian texts inscribed on papyrus, this one is made from leather, a material reserved for the most prestigious and important works. Which one is cuter? Like for the dog comment for the cat. The manuscript stretches over 2.5 meters, 8.2 feet, and is packed with colorful illustrations and religious spells, some of which are meant to guide souls through the afterlife. It even predates the well-known Book of the Dead manuscripts by several centuries, making it a truly rare find. Egyptologist Dr. Wael Shabini painstakingly pieced the fragments together, revealing its purpose to protect and guide the deceased toward immortality. Its detailed iconography and vivid religious texts are believed to have held immense power in aiding one's journey to the afterlife. Creation of afterlife rituals. AI uncovered something wild. A 4,000-year-old manuscript that dives deep into ancient afterlife rituals. This thing gives a front-row seat to how Egyptians saw death and the dangerous journey to the afterlife. It's not just about prayers and sacrifices either. Nope, they had a whole game plan. The Book of Two Ways, found with the manuscript, was basically a map for the soul to dodge demons, lakes of fire, and stone walls, all to make it to Osiris, the god of the dead. The AI even cracked the code on the symbols and hieroglyphs, showing just how detailed these afterlife instructions were. The lost healing techniques. This ancient manuscript, decoded by AI, has revealed some mind-blowing stuff. Lost healing techniques from 4,000 years ago. These bad boys are from the ancient toolbox for health and immortality, long buried under dust until now. We're talking about serious old-school methods from Mesopotamia and Egypt, herbal concoctions, hands-on healing, and some intense spiritual mojo with chants and rituals to get the gods on your side. And the ingredients? Pure gold, myrrh for its top-notch healing vibes, frankincense, and a bunch of other oils that these ancient folks swore could fix you up and maybe even keep you ticking longer. The text is a goldmine, spilling secrets on how to whip up ointments and poultices that could tackle your everyday aches and pains while keeping you spiritually clean. AI has everyone rethinking what ancient wisdom can do for modern life. Astronomical alignments. This ancient manuscript also blew the lid off everything we thought we knew about ancient stargazers. Turns out, these old-school Babylonians and Mesopotamians were onto something big, tracking the moon and stars to call the shots on major earth-shaking events. They had it dialed in, using lunar eclipses to predict whether their big shots were going down or their whole empire was about to shake up. This wasn't just any old guessing game. They had a full-blown system to read the stars and make calls on the mortal world. The sun's yearly dance with the equinoxes and solstices, it was all part of their grand plan to keep the soul's journey lit beyond death. They built structures and rolled out rituals timed perfectly with these cosmic events, all to lock in a spot in eternity by syncing up with the universe's timeless beat. Utnapishtim's code. The legendary Utnapishtim from the Epic of Gilgamesh was also unveiled in this sacred manuscript. Turns out, he wasn't just surviving some massive wipeout, he was living it up with the gods, scoring immortality for his chill attitude. Here's the kicker. Utnapishtim's got a whole code of conduct, dubbed Utnapishtim's Code. It's like an ancient guide to being a top-notch human. Think humility, self-discipline, and big-time respect for the divine. He told Gilgamesh straight up that immortality isn't about how hard you grind. It's a divine bonus for those playing it wise and righteous. The real test? Utnapishtim challenged Gilgamesh to stay awake for nearly a week. Spoiler: Gilgamesh couldn't hack it. It just shows that trying to outlast death on sheer will is a no-go. Sacred geometry. In ancient manuscripts, sacred geometry is said to have played a crucial role in the people's pursuit of immortality. They weren't just throwing shapes around. They believed these precise patterns, like circles and triangles, were the real deal to become tight with the gods. This ancient squad used these holy designs everywhere, from building temples to shaping up their tombs, all to nab that eternal life ticket. And get this, they were obsessed with the golden ratio because they thought it mirrored the universe's perfection. Seriously, every temple and sacred spot was laid out to sync up with cosmic vibes, helping them level up spiritually and maybe, just maybe, keep living it up after death. They were playing 4D chess with the cosmos, all etched into their holy hangouts. Use of metals in rituals. Ancient Mesopotamian folks were all about living forever, and they thought gold and silver were their golden tickets to immortality. They were crazy about these metals metals, thinking they had some kind of magic powers that could make the gods look their way. Gold was like the sun, never dying, always shining. Silver was all about the moon, getting into the whole vibe of renewing and starting fresh. People made all these fancy ritual objects from gold and silver to cozy up to the gods, hoping to snag some eternal life. Now, thanks to some brainy AI tools like the Fragmentarium, researchers have cracked the code on these ancient texts. They've pieced together all the details about how these big shots and kings were using these shiny metals to make amulets and ceremonial gear, all to keep tight with the divine and keep their life force under divine protection. 15th century manuscript decoded using artificial intelligence. The brain-busting Voynich manuscript, a cryptic collection of scribbles from the 15th century, has been messing with historians and code crackers' heads for ages. Nobody could crack this nut, not even those genius WTWE code breakers. Enter the sharp minds over at the University of Alberta, with Professor Greg Kondrak leading the charge. These whizzes whipped out some AI magic, pegging Hebrew as the prime suspect for the manuscript's language. They think the original writer jumbled up the alphabet to keep it spicy. Using some slick algorithms, they pulled out a bunch of words that checked out in Hebrew dictionaries, but putting them together made about as much sense as a fish riding a bicycle. Even with some tweaks and a quick spin through Google Translate, the best they got was a line that said, "She made recommendations to the priest, man of the house, and me and people." 10. Trade agreements. The Fragmentarium tool is cracking open some ancient secrets, digging deep into those dusty Babylonian texts. It's pulling out all the stops, uncovering the nuts and bolts of how those old-school Babylonians managed their trade deals with the neighbors. By stitching together broken cuneiform tablets, this AI whiz has laid bare the blueprint of Babylonian trade, and boy, were they organized. They had contracts detailing every bit of the deal: grain, textiles, metals, livestock, you name it. These agreements were tight, specifying quantities, delivery schedules, and even fines for screwing up, showcasing a sophisticated legal and economic game. Thanks to the Fragmentarium, we've pieced together bits from hot trade spots like Uruk and Babylon, dating back over 4,000 years. This tool's revelations have blown open the doors on the intricate trade networks stretching from Babylon to far-off lands like Anatolia, Iran, and Egypt. This deep dive into their detailed trade contracts proves just how crucial commerce was to Babylon's powerhouse status across a huge chunk of turf. Unexplored burial sites. Check out this wild find that's flipping the script on everything we thought we knew about kicking it with the gods in the afterlife. Over in Saqqara, Egypt, these archaeology buffs dug up a stash of burial sites, more than 50 of them, some as ancient as the Old Kingdom and early Middle Kingdom periods. Yeah, we're talking way back, around 2020. But inside one of these tricked-out coffins, they found a manuscript that's older than your grandma's grandma's grandma. This thing is not just old, it's the oldest manuscript they've ever laid hands on in these digs. It's packed with all the deets on how the ancient Egyptians planned to navigate the afterlife, sort of like a roadmap to chilling with the gods. These spots haven't seen the light of day for thousands of years, and they're loaded with goodies like the Book of Two Ways, a guidebook to the underworld. Rediscovered papyri fragments provide charming insight into everyday life in ancient Egypt. At the University of British Columbia Library, there was a wild discovery, a bunch of ancient texts just chilling there, including a dinner invite from around 1800 years ago when the Romans ruled Egypt. Imagine getting a fancy invite to kick back on the couch of Lord Serapis. Then there's this letter from some young dude to his mom, throwing out good health wishes like it's nobody's business. Back in the early 1900s, someone jazzed up that letter to make it look cooler for the folks buying old stuff. Professor Toff Marshall from UBC says these scraps really let us peek into everyday life from those times. They got dug up in the 1930s, took a detour through the University of Michigan, and then ended up at UBC, where they've been hiding out since 2014 until PhD student Chelsea Gardner stumbled on them. Now, they're all digital and ready to school us about the past. And get this, papyrus, the stuff they're written on, wasn't just for writing. Egyptians made boats and even grub from it, and it was a big deal from Egypt's first dynasty all the way to the 11th century AD, the most extensive papyrus. This bad boy of a papyrus over at the British Museum is stealing the spotlight with its ancient math hacks. Scooped up by some Scottish lawyer in the 1850s, the Rin mathematical papyrus is packed with 84 brain teasers, from number crunching to geometry, and even some street-smart problem-solving. The guy who penned this was riding the high of Apophis's reign. Yeah, that big shot from the Hyksos 15th dynasty around 1650 BC. He wasn't just doodling, he was copying some old-school tricks from way back in the 12th dynasty. Think 1985, 1795 BC. Flip to the back and it's like a historic throwdown, detailing some Egyptian towns getting snagged during the pre-game of the New Kingdom's rise against those Hyksos invaders around 1550-1070 BC. This sheet's not just old, it's a lesson in survival. Ancient Egyptian soldiers' 1-800-year-old letter unveils his hopes and fears. From 1 to 800 years ago, a man named Aurelius Polion was stationed in what is now Hungary, serving with the Roman army's Legio II Adiutrix. He was likely a volunteer, but far from home and feeling increasingly desperate. So this guy had been sending letters, 6 of them no less, to his mum, sister, and brother back in Egypt. And guess what? Radio silence. No replies, nothing. He wrote in Greek on papyrus, and his words were just left hanging there. This letter was unearthed a century ago near a temple in Tebtunis, Egypt, by the sharp-eyed explorers Bernard Grenfell and Arthur Hunt. Thanks to some advanced infrared imaging and the brilliant efforts of Grant Adamson, a doctoral student from Rice University, we finally got the full story from Polion's letter, which was published in the Bulletin of the American Society of Papyrologists. As for Polion, he was just trying to secure leave to head home. Whether his family ever received his messages or what they thought of them remains unknown. Ancient Egyptian remedies. These ancient scrolls are spilling the beans on some hardcore medical moves from 1900 years back, tucked away since they were unearthed in Oxyrhynchus in 1915. These bad boys are packed with everything from radical eye surgeries to headache cures, like rocking a garland of Shamadafni leaves to shake off a nasty hangover, courtesy of old Greek know-how, possibly linked to Dioscorides herbals. The doctors at Oxford's Sackler Library, part of the Egypt Exploration Society, are diving into Volume 80, which dishes on how to deal with hemorrhoids, ulcers, toothaches, and even some intense eye surgeries. They weren't playing around. Some remedies included a wild mix of copper flakes, lead, antimony oxide, and poppy juice. One nasty procedure described is flipping an eyelid back in place. Yikes. Plus, there's a shout-out to ancient hangover cures with a stew recipe from the 1,000-year-old Kitab al-Tabi, featuring meat, chickpeas, and fermented yogurt to ease those rough mornings. These papyri are a goldmine, even pinpointing human kidneys in a way no one before them did, setting the record for the oldest known mention of these organs.
As the sunlight brightens the Nile, Pesachet checks her supplies: honey, garlic, cumin, acacia leaves, cedar oil. She's well stocked with the essentials she needs to treat her patients. Pesachet is a sunu, or a doctor. In order to become one, she had to train as a scribe and study the medical papyri stored at the Per Ankh, the House of Life. Now she teaches her own students there. Before teaching, Pesachet has a patient to see. One of the workers at the temple construction site has injured his arm. When Pesachet arrives, the laborer's arm is clearly broken. And worse, the fracture is a sed with multiple bone fragments. Pesachet binds and immobilizes the injury.
The Dunhuang manuscripts. Dunhuang manuscripts are a stash of about 20,000 epic scrolls hidden in China's Mogao caves. They've been chilling there since way back between the 5th and 11th centuries. A Taoist monk stumbled on them in 1900, and boy, had they been sitting in a sealed-up cave chamber for nearly 900 years. A bunch of these ancient texts got snatched up by European adventurers, while the leftovers were shipped off to Beijing. You can peep them today at the National Library history of China. These manuscripts aren't just your average dusty old scrolls. They pack a punch with Buddhist vibes, plus a sprinkle of Taoist, Nestorian Christian, and Manichaean magic. And it doesn't stop there. They've got secular scripts covering everything from math to history, astronomy, and the art of words. Topping it off, there's a superb collection of folk literature in there, giving us the real deal scoop on everyday ancient life, showing off how the regular Joe mixed it up with society, power, and family. These texts light up the dark corners of history, showing us the real heart and soul of those times. The Kangyor, written with 9 precious stones. Back in the day, the Tibetans were all about this shamanistic vibe called Bon. But then, between the 6th and 8th centuries, Buddhism started creeping into those towering peaks. Fast forward to the 14th century, and bam! They finally nailed down the Tibetan Buddhist canon, including the Kangyor, which is basically the Buddha's greatest hits, translated. Now, the Kangyor wasn't just any book. They made copies, right? But one of these bad boys is out of this world. It's inked with 9 precious stones. We're talking gold, silver, coral, pearl, mother of pearl, turquoise, lapis lazuli, copper, and steel. Literally the fanciest ancient text you can find. They ground these gems into powder, mixed them with some high-altitude water and goat's milk for that luxe adhesive, and used a fancy sable brush to get it all down on sleek black paper. Plus, they threw in some superb paintings following Zanabazar's style, which apparently can chill you out and blow your mind just by looking at them. The legendary Emerald Tablet. This Emerald Tablet is one heck of a mysterious chunk of stone, etched with the universe's top secrets. No one knows exactly where it first popped up, buried deep in layers of wild myths and tall tales. The hottest story around is that this tablet was snagged from under a Hermes statue in Tiana, literally in the dead hands of Hermes Trismegistus himself. Another wild claim, it was Seth, Adam, and Eve's 3rd kid who scribbled down the original. Some even whispered it hung out in the Ark of the Covenant, and a few die-hard fans are convinced it's from the lost city of Atlantis. This tablet wasn't just a showpiece, it was a game-changer in the alchemy world. Medieval and Renaissance brainiacs couldn't get enough of it, and it's still stirring up the scene. Despite heaps of translations and commentaries breaking down its message, nobody's really got the full scoop on it. The Egyptian Dream Book. The Egyptian Dream Book, scribbled in hieratic script on papyrus, was yanked out of Deir el-Medina. That's right, the workers' pit stop near the Valley of the Kings. We're throwing it way back to the time of Rameses II, around 1279-1213 BC, where every entry kicks off with, "If a man sees himself in a dream." Line after line, you've got dreams spelled out, tagged as good or bad, with what they mean slapped right beside them. Like, see yourself peeking out a window in your snooze. Good news, it means they hear you loud and clear. The good vibes are all up front, with the bad omens in red ink screaming trouble.
Dreams. I'm just going to read. It says, "Do you believe that dreams can foretell the future? If you do, then you are not alone. The divination of dreams, or oniromancy as it is called, has its roots in the ancient world. For instance, in the book of Genesis, Joseph, the son of the Jewish patriarch Jacob, had the ability to divine the future based on dreams. According to the Bible, this ability allowed Joseph to interpret Pharaoh's dream, which foretold of a 7-year famine. This enabled Egypt to avoid this disaster and contributed to Joseph's meteoric rise in the Egyptian hierarchy."
Hammurabi's Code of Laws. This tough guy Hammurabi really knew how to run the show back in his day. Ruling from 1792 to 1750 BC, he was the big boss of the first dynasty of Babylon. Under his watch, Babylon turned into a heavy hitter in Mesopotamia, gobbling up territory left and right. By the end of his reign, Hammurabi had the whole of Mesopotamia eating out of his hand, though his successors kind of dropped the ball and couldn't keep it together. But his Code of Laws, this no-nonsense eye for an eye playbook, has stuck around even after all these centuries, only dug up in the 20th century. These rules lay down the law on crimes and their paybacks, making sure everyone knew the score. Trust me, you didn't want to mess up in Hammurabi's hood. The Timbuktu manuscripts. Timbuktu, sitting at the Sahara's doorstep in what's now Mali, packs a hefty historical punch. Founded way back in the 5th century, it hit its stride in the 15th and 16th centuries as both a spiritual and intellectual hotspot. This place wasn't just any old city, it was a bustling crossroads for Europeans, Africans, Egyptians, and Moroccans, all swapping salt, gold, ivory, and, yeah, even slaves. But Timbuktu was more than a marketplace. It was a melting pot of ideas and beliefs, with intellectuals and thinkers trading thoughts as eagerly as merchants traded goods. Central to this exchange were the Timbuktu manuscripts, real showstoppers with their gold, red, and black calligraphy on leather-bound pages. And not just pretty to look at either. These texts were jam-packed with high-octane brain fuel, covering everything from the Quran to poetry, Sufism to science, all penned between the 13th and 17th centuries.
We smuggled the manuscripts out very slowly, little by little, over a period of 6 months. We took them out of Timbuktu in 4x4 SUVs. We brought them to Bamako. We also stockpiled them in small boats about 5 miles outside of Timbuktu and took them 375 miles away.
Bamboo medical books of Bianqui. Back in 2013, these hotshot archaeologists struck gold in the town of Tianhui, Chengdu, unearthing 920 ancient bamboo strips stashed away in 4 tombs from the Western Han Dynasty era, which lasted from 206 BC to 24 AD. These weren't just any old strips. They were packed with 2,000-year-old secrets for kicking illnesses to the curb, scribbled down by none other than Bianqui, the legend himself, who's tagged as China's first doctor. The brainiacs got down to translating these bad boys, and boy, did they spill the tea. Turns out, Bianqui was all about checking your pulse to figure out what's messing with your health. The texts didn't just stop at one trick. They covered the whole health spectrum, from internal medicine and surgery to tackling issues in gynecology, dermatology, and even eye problems. Oh, and let's not forget about the horses. 184 pieces of these strips were all about keeping those ancient stallions in top shape, marking some of the sickest veterinary insights of ancient China. The Copper Scroll. The Copper Scroll is not just another piece of old parchment from the Dead Sea Scrolls stash found in the Qumran caves. Nope, this one's a total oddball. Unlike its bookish buddies, this scroll is all metal and mystery, scribbled with a treasure map vibe listing 64 spots to hit up for some insane loot, tons of gold and silver, plus some ancient bling and scrolls. It's got everyone scratching their heads because it doesn't match anything else from that time. It's so out there that experts like Professor Richard Freund think it was dropped off in the cave way later than the rest. It lists over 4,600 talents of precious metals. We're talking about a treasure trove worth over $1 billion. Yeah, billion with a B. This is the kind of stuff that changes the game. This ain't just history, it's the jackpot history. The Takenouchi manuscripts. Takenouchi manuscripts are some wild texts scribbled in a mashup of Japanese and Chinese characters. They say these papers were penned 1,500 years back by some dude named Takenouchi no Matori. Still, the legends claim they were originally written by the gods themselves ages ago in heavenly script. So these freaky documents spin a yarn about humanity like no other, kicking off from creation itself right up to when Christianity started making waves. They paint a picture of a world where everyone chilled in perfect harmony under some supreme god's kid. Now, trying to dig up the real deal about where these manuscripts came from, or if they're the real McCoy, is a total dead end. Word is, the government nabbed the original copies, and oops, they somehow lost them. So now, everyone's left guessing whether there's any truth to these tales, or it's all just ancient gossip. 25. The Sumerian King List. The Sumerian King List is basically a who's who of ancient rulers, stretching back to the times when gods supposedly ran the show right up until the regular human kings took over. Found in the dust of old Iraqi digs, this artifact is a blockbuster, mixing up legendary and real-life monarchs. The real treasure, the well-blundled prism housed in Oxford's Ashmolean Museum. This 8-inch prism is the most complete and beefiest version of the king list we've got. You can spin it around thanks to what used to be a wooden spindle smack in the middle, flipping through the ages from rulers before the big rains to the hotshots around 1763 BC. This piece isn't just ancient bling, it charts out serious historical timelines and even echoes some of the tales from Genesis. This is one epic slice slice of history caught on cuneiform, and you bet it schooled a ton of folks on how the ancient Game of Thrones was played out. And that's a wrap for today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this fascinating dive into ancient mysteries and cutting-edge technology, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible discoveries.